For months, the Las Vegas Aces have walked into arenas like the champions they once were, chins high, highlight reels blazing, and the word dynasty stitched into their swagger. But on this night, in front of the entire basketball world, that illusion shattered. The Indiana Fever didn't just beat them, they dismantled them. And they did it without their franchise star even stepping on the court. The final score? 81-54. That's not a loss. That's a humiliation. It was the Aces' worst performance of the season, maybe the worst in their multi-year run of dominance. And it came against a team they hadn't lost to in 9 years. Let that sink in. The Fever had dropped 16 straight games to Vegas. 16. They were supposed to be the Aces' permanent punching bag. But not anymore. This wasn't just about numbers. It wasn't about one player going off or catching fire. It was something deeper. A cultural shift. A team-wide message. The Fever were focused, aggressive, connected. They weren't intimidated by names or accolades or flashy entrances. They smelled blood, and they went for the throat. Even the energy felt different. You could see it in the body language. Indiana came out of the tunnel loose, confident, joyful, like a team that knew it had turned a corner. Vegas, on the other hand, looked tense, like they expected to win simply by showing up. But this time, showing up wasn't enough. The Fever didn't just play with heart, they played like a team on a mission to end an era. And maybe they just did. If there was ever a night when the Aces needed everything to go their way, this was it. And sure enough, the whistles came early and often. For one player in particular, A'ja Wilson, the face of the franchise, got what can only be described as referee immunity. Every brush was a foul, every drive a trip to the line. By the end of the night, she'd shot 13 free throws, more than the entire Indiana team combined. But here's the kicker, it still didn't matter, not one bit. Because while A'ja was busy collecting points at the stripe, Indiana was collecting something far more valuable, momentum. Wilson's final stat line looked impressive at first glance, 29 points on 9 of -18 shooting. But it was padded like a mattress, and every fan watching knew it. They weren't real buckets, they were gift baskets. The moment that told the whole story came in the third quarter. Lexie Hull boxed Wilson out so cleanly, so perfectly, you could have clipped it for a fundamentals video. And then, wham! A'ja came crashing in from behind, arms draped over Hull's back, clawing for the ball like she was trying to rip a door off its hinges. Every AAU coach in America would have called that over the back. Every fan saw it. The broadcasters called it out. Hull got bulldozed. And yet somehow, the refs called a jump ball. A jump ball? That wasn't just a missed call, it was a full rewrite of the rulebook on live TV. The reaction from Indiana's sideline said it all. Stephanie White exploded. The bench was in disbelief. And still, no whistle. But instead of unraveling, the Fever just smiled and kept going. No complaints, no drama. Just tighter defense, sharper cuts, cleaner basketball. They took the bad call, stuffed it in their back pocket, and kept cooking. And while the Aces waited for the refs to bail them out again, Indiana slammed the door shut. That was the difference. Vegas wanted help. Indiana didn't need it. This was the night Lexie Hull officially arrived. No, she didn't drop 30. She didn't dunk or hit logo threes. What she did was something far more important. She set the tone. In a game full of stars and stat chasers, Hull played with nothing but grit, angles, and heart. And it started with one moment. One box out. Midway through the third quarter, with the Fever already controlling the game, Hull carved out perfect position under the rim. No flash, just fundamentals. Feet wide, hips low, arms out, textbook. She sealed out A'ja Wilson like she'd been doing it since birth. But just as the rebound hit her hands, Wilson came flying over the top, practically climbing on her back. The entire arena saw it. Fans screamed. Announcers flinched. Everyone knew what was coming until the whistle blew, and the ref signaled, jump ball. Jump ball? Hull didn't flinch. No protest, no stare down. She got up, dusted herself off, and locked right back in. And what happened next was even better. Instead of retreating, she got more physical. She chased down rebounds in traffic. She dove for loose balls. She hit her spots on every rotation like a machine. She didn't just survive the moment, she owned it. This was more than hustle. It was personal. It was symbolic. Lexie Hull was letting A'ja Wilson know, you're not walking over me today, not in my house. And the rest of the Fever followed her lead. Because when one role player refuses to back down from a superstar, the whole team levels up. Hull didn't need 20 points to make noise. Her impact echoed in every possession, every scrap, every missed call she didn't let define her. She flipped disrespect into dominance. And by the time the final buzzer sounded, Wilson wasn't just frustrated, she was exposed. From the moment the ball tipped, it was clear the Indiana Fever weren't here to compete, they were here to destroy. And they wasted zero time doing it. 6 unanswered points, then 9, then 12. Suddenly, the scoreboard read 21-4, and the Aces looked like they'd walked into the wrong arena. Vegas didn't just stumble out of the gate, they got flattened. The Fever's offense? Crisp, fearless, explosive. But it was their defense that suffocated Vegas into panic. They crashed passing lanes, locked down the paint, and rotated like a machine. Everything the Aces tried was swallowed whole. And by the time the first quarter ended, the tone was set. The so-called dynasty wasn't just trailing, they were being dominated. But the second quarter? That's when Indiana went for the throat. They outscored Vegas 25-10. Let that sit for a second. 25-10 in one quarter. The Fever shot a blistering 82% from the field. Vegas, a laughable 24%. Indiana didn't miss in the paint. They didn't miss in transition. They didn't miss, period. It was surgical basketball, the kind that makes even rival fans sit back and say, wow. At halftime, it was 46-24. And make no mistake, this wasn't some underdog fluke. This was systematic, ruthless, unapologetic. The Fever weren't just outplaying Vegas, they were dissecting them. Piece by piece, cut by cut. They were smarter, sharper, hungrier. And the Aces? They had no answer, no rhythm, no leadership. And most importantly, no Caitlin Clark to even worry about. Indiana walked into the locker room up 22, and you could feel the energy. Calm, focused, dangerous. There was no celebrating, no dancing, just belief. They weren't satisfied. They were building something. And that's when everyone watching started asking the same thing. Wait, is this Fever team actually better without Clark on the floor? Spoiler alert, they're just getting started. What separates a good team from a dangerous one isn't just talent, it's leadership. And in this game, Stephanie White put the entire league on notice. This wasn't just her team's best win of the year. It was her win, her system, her identity, her refusal to let this team crumble when the pressure got loud and the whistles got soft. All season long, White has walked a tightrope, balancing expectations, managing egos, integrating Caitlin Clark's star power without losing the soul of the team. And on this night, with Clark in street clothes and Vegas breathing down their necks, White snapped the rope in half and built a bridge instead. She didn't babysit the moment. She attacked it. Midway through the fourth, after yet another absurd no-call on A'ja Wilson, White exploded. She stormed the sideline, arms flying, voice cutting through the arena like a siren. And when the refs hit her with a technical, she didn't flinch. Because it wasn't about the whistle. It was about the message, I've got your back. Caitlin Clark's reaction said it all. She leapt from her seat, grinning, rallying the bench. This wasn't frustration. It was fire. The kind that teams feed off. And off the court, the chemistry was just as potent. Players laughing in warm-ups, towel waves after every hustle play, high fives after contested rebounds. This wasn't just a group of teammates. It was a movement. Natasha Howard said it best post-game. We're focused, but we're having fun. When we're loose, we're dangerous. And you could see it. This team was flowing, talking, believing. No hero ball, no stat padding, just joy. And trust, the kind of trust you can't fake. Steph White didn't just coach her players, she unleashed them. She handed the keys to Mitchell, gave space to Boston, empowered Hull to play free. And when the game started tilting, she didn't call timeouts in panic. She trusted the process. That's what this was. A blueprint, a culture win, a line in the sand. And now, the rest of the league knows, the Fever aren't just talented, they're unified. And they've got a coach ready to go to war for them. For months, critics have framed the Indiana Fever as a one-woman show. Caitlin Clark's team, her offense, her spotlight. But what happened in this game flipped that entire narrative on its head. Because when Clark wasn't on the floor, her supporting cast became the main event. Let's start with Kelsey Mitchell. She didn't just fill in, she took over. Dropping 25 points with cold-blooded efficiency, she played like someone tired of being overlooked. Her foot never left the gas pedal. She nailed deep threes, attacked mismatches, and ran the offense with surgical poise. Every time Vegas hinted at a run, Mitchell crushed it. Then there was Aaliyah Boston, the big with the softest hands and the coldest heart. She put up 20 points and 7 boards, bullying defenders on the block and hitting cutters in stride like a point guard. Her battle with A'ja Wilson wasn't just physical, it was mental. And Boston won both. But it didn't stop there. Natasha Howard came out like she had a grudge to settle. Every rebound? Hers. Every loose ball? She dove for it. She finished with 11 points and 10 rebounds and was everywhere, rotating, contesting, slashing, scoring. She earned the Commissioner's Cup MVP, and no one questioned it. And then the bench, the so-called non-factors. They were flying around like it was Game 7. Timpson, the rookie, logged blocks, steals, smart fouls, and timely screens. Sophie Cunningham? She hit a massive corner shot right when the Fever needed to silence a Vegas run. Every player, every minute, every possession, they showed up. This wasn't 5 players hoping Clark would save them. This was a team built to win, with or without her. They passed up good shots for great ones. They shared the rock like it was oxygen. They made the extra effort, the second rotation, the third contest. This was not individual effort, it was collective domination. And by the end of the night, the Aces weren't just down in points, they were out of answers. This was the warning shot the league's been ignoring. Indiana isn't just the Caitlin Clark show. They're deeper, tougher, and far more dangerous than anyone thought. This was supposed to be the night Chelsea Gray reminded the world why she's a floor general. A finals MVP, a seasoned veteran with ice in her veins. But instead, she vanished. 2 points, 1 field goal, 5 turnovers. That's not a bad night. That's a meltdown. And it wasn't just the box score. Gray looked rattled from the opening tip. The Fever swarmed her on every dribble. Traps came faster. Passing lanes closed instantly. Her body language told the whole story. Frustrated, hesitant, out of rhythm. This wasn't just defense, it was disruption. This is the same player some in the WNBA claimed was better than Caitlin Clark. But against Indiana's connected unit? She looked like a liability. And she wasn't alone. Let's talk numbers. Outside of A'ja Wilson's inflated stat line, the rest of the Aces shot 7 of -43 from the field. Read that again, 7 of -43. That's 16.3% shooting. No player not named Wilson cracked even 6 points. They didn't just struggle, they disintegrated. This is a team that's been marketed as the deepest, most cohesive roster in the league. Championship DNA, veteran experience. And yet, when things got hard, when the momentum swung against them, they looked like a team without a plan. Every play felt forced, every shot rushed, every possession predictable. The offensive movement stalled, communication broke down. And when Chelsea Gray, their stabilizer, crumbled under pressure, everything else followed. Meanwhile, Clark wasn't even on the floor. She was on the sideline, clapping, pointing, directing. She didn't take a single dribble, and somehow she outled every star in Vegas's backcourt. Gray? Ghosted. The Aces? Exposed. The narrative that Vegas is unbeatable took a hit. A massive one. Because when their MVP wasn't being handed trips to the line, when their leader couldn't settle the chaos, when their bench gave them nothing, there was no dynasty left. Just a loud, confused, broken team searching for answers. And Indiana? They didn't offer sympathy. They offered smoke. Forget the box scores. Forget the highlights. You want the real reason the Fever humiliated the Aces? Defense. Relentless, surgical, championship-level defense. Indiana didn't just try hard on defense. They played like they were synced to one heartbeat. Every switch was clean. Every help side rotation was early. Every closeout was perfect. It was the kind of defense you feel, the kind that gets in your head before you even cross half court. They held Las Vegas to 26% shooting. Let that number marinate. The worst field goal percentage an Indiana opponent has had in 15 years. That's not a slump. That's a shutdown. And they weren't just standing around waiting for missed shots. The Fever forced 17 turnovers, 17 moments where the Aces got absolutely smothered and gave the ball away. Not because they were careless, because Indiana took it from them. Inside the paint, it was a war zone. The Fever outscored Vegas 28-10 in the paint in the first half alone. That's not just a stat, That's a message. You're not getting anything easy here. A'ja Wilson had to fight for every clean look. The rest of her team? They didn't stand a chance. Lexie Hull was a menace. Sophie Cunningham hounded passing lanes like a pit bull. Even Timpson, the rookie, played like a 10-year vet, racking up blocks, altering shots, and making smart physical reads. Every time the Aces tried to spark a comeback, bam, someone stepped in front of the run and shut the door. Sophie steal. Mitchell's quick trigger three. Boston's block. Over and over again, just pure discipline. And the communication? Flawless. You could hear them calling out screens, switching seamlessly, chasing shooters off the line like their season depended on it. This wasn't 5 individuals playing defense. It was a collective brain wired for destruction. Even the crowd could feel it. Every defensive stop got louder. Every forced turnover was met with rising chaos. By the fourth quarter, Vegas looked like a team just trying to survive. Indiana didn't just win with defense. They sent a league-wide statement. You can't outshoot us. You can't outrun us. And you're sure as hell not outworking us. So while A'ja Wilson padded her numbers and Chelsea Gray disappeared, Indiana built a wall and said, "Good luck getting through it." And the Aces never did. The final buzzer didn't just end a game, it ended a narrative. The Las Vegas Aces walked in wearing the crown. But they walked out shaken, exposed, and dethroned. Because what happened on that court wasn't just an upset. It was a seismic shift in the WNBA power structure. The Indiana Fever didn't win with a buzzer beater. They didn't need heroics or last-minute magic. They flat-out dominated the league's reigning giants from tip to horn. They did it with team basketball, lockdown defense, and not 1 second of fear. And here's the scariest part. For everyone else, they did it without Caitlin Clark. That's right. The biggest rookie name in sports, the face of a media storm, the playmaker everyone keys in on, didn't play a minute. And yet, the Fever still played their most complete, most connected, most terrifying game of the season. Because this team, it's no longer just Clark and company. It's Kelsey Mitchell dropping daggers, Aaliyah Boston dominating the paint, Natasha Howard beasting on both ends, Lexie Hull taking charges and diving for loose balls like every possession is Game 7. It's a squad, not a solo act. Meanwhile, Vegas, they got every whistle, leaned on their MVP, and still fell apart. Their chemistry looked fragile. Their depth? Now in serious question. Their so-called dynasty? Starting to look more like a memory than a reality. And through it all, Caitlin Clark stood on the sideline, smiling, cheering, leading. Not with stats, but with presence. That's leadership. That's culture. That's dangerous. So here's your final score. Not just on the scoreboard, but in the story. Dynasty hype? Deflated. Fever culture? Exploding. And once Clark returns, logo threes, full court dimes, championship energy. The hierarchy has changed. Indiana just rewrote the rules. And if this is what they look like without Clark, the rest of the league should be terrified of what comes next. If you believe the Fever just flipped the league on its head, drop a CC and Lexie in the comments. Like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next time Indiana shocks the world. Because if this is what they do without Caitlin Clark, you better be here to see what happens when she's back.